Hello and welcome, I'm Ruby Barlow and you're watching the World Report on NewsX World. Let's take a look at some of the headlines of this hour. Israel says its Air Force hits Iran's presidential office and Supreme National Security Council compound with multiple munitions. The military says other key regime sites are also targeted days after joint US-Israeli strikes kill Iran's supreme leader at a separate compound. Iran's Red Crescent says the death toll from ongoing US and Israeli strikes has risen to 787 people since the war began. The figure, released by Iranian state-affiliated sources, comes as search and rescue continue after widespread airstrikes across the country. Russia says it has seen no evidence that Iran is developing nuclear weapons, according to Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. The comment contradicts President Donald Trump's justification for war, as Iran denies seeking a bomb and nuclear talks remain collapsed after the US exited the 2015 deal. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the war with Iran will not last for years as Israel strikes Hezbollah targets in Lebanon and Iran hits Gulf states hosting US bases. US President Donald Trump earlier projected a 4 to 5 week conflict, but now signals a broader, open-ended campaign as the fighting expands. Hezbollah says it targets 3 Israeli military bases with drones and rockets, including Ramat David, Meron, and a site in the Golan Heights, in response to Israeli strikes on its strongholds in Lebanon. The Iran-backed group says the attacks follow Israeli airstrikes on dozens of Lebanese cities, including southern suburbs of Beirut. The United States confirms its embassy in Riyadh is hit by drones overnight, closes the facility and urges Americans to shelter in place. Saudi officials say 2 drones caused a small fire and minor damage, as witnesses report smoke and explosions in the diplomatic quarter. China denies reports it is providing military support to Iran and says its backing is political and moral, not weapons supplies. Beijing, which relies heavily on oil shipments through the Strait of Hormuz, condemns US and Israeli actions and calls for a ceasefire and return to nuclear talks. European and UK benchmark natural gas prices jumped more than 30%, hitting their highest level since January 2023 as Middle East tensions intensify. Prices spike after quartering and halts output following military attacks, with the UK seen as particularly exposed due to low storage and heavy import reliance. And now to our breaking story. The Israeli military has said it struck a high-ranking Iranian commander in Tehran as the war entered its 4th day following US and Israeli strikes. The army statement confirmed the targeted hit but gave no further details on the commander's identity or casualties. And now joining us live in the studio, we have the guest David K. Johnson, who is an author and journalist from New York. And also joining us, we have Maddie Zweig, who is a geopolitical expert from Tel Aviv. Thank you so much both for joining us. First of all, to you, Maddie, why do you think that they would not have named this commander?
Well, hello. I think that the caution is very important. I mean, Israel is trying, and in the vision of work with the United States from the beginning, to target all the main political and military structure of Iran to be hidden. And also the people that they are chasing, the people that they are already confirmed and dead. So if they still didn't say the name, it's because they are waiting for confirmation from videos or another kind of proof that they are going to prove that this person is still not alive. So this is one reason, maybe the main reason, because I know that for Israel it's very important to be trustful and not to say lies that usually do the Iranian propaganda. So in this way, you can give a more reliable narrative about what is going on. From the other side, there are ongoing efforts to continue and behead all these military top commanders in every place, not only in Tehran, also in other places, people that these officers that they are connected to the IRCG, also even to the Basij, in order to really behead the chain of command and not to so easily pass to the second in command or the third, and so trying to disrupt all this chain of command.
Now, David, our next question is to you. The war in Iraq turned into a failed state. The country still faces many struggles. It's split between the north and the south, of course, with autonomous Kurd territory in the north. In these strikes, Israel and the US have taken out a lot of leadership that was in place, of course, from the IRGC, the army, and other parts of the Iranian bureaucracy. How will Iran be able to rebuild their civil sector with all of the assassinations of the previous government that we're seeing now?
Well, Iran has a lot of bench strength, both in clerics to run the theocracy that is its government and in its military. Iran has more than 1 million trained soldiers, though most of them, of course, are not in uniform and on active duty. So I don't think that the Iranians are going to have a hard time picking a new leader. The clerics will decide that. And often leaders come out of nowhere. I mean, in 1989, when the Soviet Union collapsed, no one would have predicted that Vladimir Putin would end up the new czar and dictator of the Russian Federation. So we don't know who they're going to pick or what their orientation will be. What we do know is that among the Sunni minority spread throughout the Middle East, which is primarily led by Sunni regimes that oppress the Shia minorities, there's a lot of unrest, and that's destabilizing for those countries. So the trouble here is not going to be limited to Iran. It's going to spread and already has. We've seen big demonstrations in Pakistan, and we have limited news about some other unrest, but for sure the Shia minorities, the Shia minorities in the Sunni majority or Sunni ruled countries are taking this very badly.
Okay, please stay with us both as we move to our next update. US President Donald Trump has stated that Iran's air defense, air force, navy, and leadership is gone. He has added that Iran wants to talk, but it's now too late. This comes as US and Israel continue to strike Iran, with Israel also targeting Hezbollah in Lebanon. The strikes have resulted in the death of Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Khamenei and other senior officials from the Iranian regime. Joining us again, we have David K. Johnston, author and journalist, and we also have so just on Trump's statement, he said that it's now too late to talk. China has also urged talks to restart. Why would the United States be saying that it's now too late to talk when perhaps negotiations would be an obvious finish to these strikes?
Well, Ruby, this is a predictable development given what happened Friday. The Iranians, according to Oman's foreign minister, who was brokering the indirect peace talks in Geneva, said that Iran offered a better deal to Trump than Obama got in 2015, including allowing American oil companies back into Iran and inspections and better controls on enriching uranium. Trump responded by bombing them. Donald Trump has had murder in his heart for almost his entire life. Back in 1989, he called for the summary execution without trial of 5 young men who were accused, falsely it turned out, of a rape in New York's Central Park. And when they were later exonerated and the real perpetrator was caught, did Donald Trump say, oh, that was a mistake? No, he doubled down and continued his call, they should be executed. Furthermore, how can you trust anything Trump says here? Trump told us that the US had obliterated the bomb-making capacity of Iran. Now his administration is saying, oh, they were a week away. They were just a week away. You simply cannot believe what Donald says. He engages in magical thinking. In the hundreds of hours he and I have spent together, he has lied to me to my face so many times. So don't rely on the administration for truth and accuracy. You're just not going to get it.
So if we can't rely on what Trump says, and he's said that it is now too late for talks to restart, could they possibly restart?
Sure, they could. And, you know, have you ever heard of a war with an expiration date? I mean, Trump said the war will be over in 4 weeks. Absolutely unheard of. And it's not going to be over in 4 weeks because it's spread trouble elsewhere. You know, the Chinese, who have stockpiled a lot of oil, are worried. The Japanese are worried. The head of NATO says, gee, we wish you well, but we're not going to take part in this war in Iran. And Europe, having weaned itself off Russian oil and natural gas, depends on oil and natural gas from the Middle East, where, guess what, insurance companies are canceling the coverage for oil tankers and liquefied natural gas ships. So talks, sure, and they're likely to occur at some point in the future. And I would just give little credence to whatever is in Donald's head at the moment.
How does this impact the global willingness to do negotiations with the Trump administration, as he's started talks with the Iranians and then before the talks are finished, he's attacked them, essentially? So does this impact the perception of countries worldwide when they're thinking of negotiating deals or treaties with the United States?
Well, Donald has been driving away America's best allies. Australia, the #1 lapdog ally of America, is now doing business on a higher level with China. Canada, the U.S.'s biggest trading partner, concluded an agreement that made Donald very upset with China. And we're seeing him drive away people because he doesn't have a clue to what he's doing here. Donald is a con artist. He is appallingly ignorant. He is delusional at times, and you can see that on television, and it's very clear that he's suffering from frontal lobe dementia, as a number of psychiatrists, psychologists, and cognitive researchers have all said about him. So what you're going to see is the U.S. being more and more isolated rather than having stronger relationships. And it's going to hurt Trump at home that one of the reasons for the war, according to Marco Rubio, was Israel had told the U.S. we're going to attack and we're going to kill Khamenei. The U.S. then joined in. Remember Donald Trump, no wars in the future, like me, there'll be no wars, and yet he's being led around like a pig with a ring in his nose by Israel. That's not America first.
Okay, thank you, David. Thanks so much for coming on our show today. It's been a pleasure to have you on. Now, Iranian state media has reported that Iran has denied carrying out attacks on Oman. Oman has been hit with numerous attacks, including one on Sunday involving 2 drones that wounded an expatriate worker. Earlier, Oman's news agency reported that a fuel tank at the country's Duqm commercial port was hit by a drone attack before a drone crashed near the vicinity of Salalah port, and 2 other drones were intercepted in Dhofar Governorate. Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian has assured the public that the government remains fully operational despite the ongoing war in the country. In a post on X, he emphasized that state functions are continuing as normal across the nation. Pezeshkian stated that the government is coordinating closely with provincial leaders and is in direct contact with the governors to manage the situation. While acknowledging the exceptional circumstances, he assured citizens that the country has not come to a halt. The president highlighted that ongoing activities continue throughout the country, reflecting the resilience of the state amid escalating tensions. Now, joining us live, we have Maddie Zweig, a geopolitical expert who's located in Tel Aviv in Israel. Maddie, what is life like for Iranians right now? Of course, any war completely disrupts daily citizen life, but can you give us a bit of an insight into what the day-to-day has been like for Iranian citizens over the last 4 days?
Well, as you said, I'm located in Tel Aviv, so I have to trust the information And also at the personal level, I have several Iranian friends that they are inside, or another Iranian friends that they are also influencing, and they are in the States. So everybody, when you put all the information together, of course, nobody likes when missiles are dropping on you or bombs. The same with us in Israel. I'm running myself 7, 8 times a day to the shelters to be with a lot of strange people around me, and nobody likes that. The same in Iran. In Iran, the difference, the big difference is also the US and also Israel, and I know Israel for sure, they are not targeting civilians. They are targeting the IRGC, the Basij, the central government, all kinds of facilities that they are developing missiles or nuclear capabilities. So if there are some civilians around, of course, it's regrettable, and Israel is the side that is telling to the Iranian people, please go away because we are acting in the area. The Iranians don't do that. They shoot at civilians. They shoot at civilians in Tel Aviv, in Beit Shemesh. They shoot at civilians in Doha, in Kuwait, in Bahrain. So there is a big difference this when you ask about the daily life. The daily life is from fear from bombs that they are dropping, but also a big joy for getting rid of Khamenei and a lot of their heavy people around. Most of the people is very happy today in Iran and waiting others to do their jobs. If they are going to take the force into themselves and in their hands, and they are going to do a regime change, we still don't know. It's something that is developing every day and in different intensity according to the areas. If you are in Tehran, is one thing, or Karamanshah, which is in the Kurds area, is different, or in the Baluchi area is different, in the Lors, in the Azeri areas are different. So there can be movements there to fight also from inside against this evil regime. Let's see what's going to happen. Nobody is enjoying to be inside the war, not from this side, not from the other side.
Maddie, please don't go far as we move to our next update. Bahrain has reported that its air defense systems have successfully destroyed 73 missiles and 91 drones launched by Iran since the start of the latest war. This comes as multiple explosions were heard in Bahrain and Qatar on the fourth consecutive day of Iranian attacks on Gulf countries. The blasts were particularly noticeable in Manama, where air raid sirens were also activated. Similar explosions were reported in Doha. The Bahraini government has not provided any official comments or further details regarding the fresh blasts or any potential damage. Joining us again live, we have Matti Zweig, who is a geopolitical expert located in Tel Aviv. Matti, can you give us a bit more insight into the challenges that Bahrain faces as a small but wealthy country in defense?
Well, if you are talking about Israel, for Israel, it was very clear, not after 1 or 2 days, or even from the last clashes in June 25, but also for the last 20, 25 years, especially from the 47 years of existence of the Islamic Republic of Iran, especially in the last 25 years, we are listening about more and more quantities of materials to build the nuclear capabilities and atomic bombs that they are aimed not for civil purpose, but to throw them to other people. And we were fearing this as a sword of Damocles on our heads all these years, with more intensity, with less intensity, but under the table, everyone was searching for what really they have and what they are preparing. And what we saw all these years that they are preparing all the time for war from themselves and using as a pulp with tentacles other proxies like the Houthis, like Hamas, like Hezbollah, like Syria, like the pro-Iranians in South Iraq. And we were all the time preparing ourselves through the developing of very important layers of air defense and shelters and everything. And that's what we are living today. We are living a war to defend our existence and to try to finish militarily, at least, all this regime that has been also wasting their own resources and their own money for years and years, only try to conquer other territories, only try to wipe off Israel and erase it from the face of the earth, and also taking their twisted ideology to very far places like Venezuela and other places that they were good for them also to expand their domination ideologically, and also to have resources aligned with narco traffickers and other terrible people to have money to build more weapons and to continue with their ideology. This is the head of the snake from a brutal geopolitical construction that has been constructed also with other allies like Russia and China for their own purposes, for their own targets in life and geopolitical aims. And so that's what we are coping when all the time people see that Israel is very successful in dropping bombs and killing leaders and killing military commanders and so on. It's only a technical thing, because these are the means to finish with this. But the main thing, we must look at the broad picture.
Okay. Thank you, Mehdi. We'll just stay with you now as we move to our next story, where US Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee has advised Americans in Israel to leave via Egypt following the US government's urge for citizens in the Middle East to evacuate due to the escalating conflict with Iran. Huckabee explained that bus services are available from cities like Tel Aviv, Haifa, and Jerusalem to Taba, just over the Egyptian border, where limited flights may be available. He cautioned against travelling through Jordan due to sporadic airport closures and limited crossing hours. He also recommended US citizens register with the State Department's STEP program for updates. He encouraged US citizens to register with the State Department's Smart Traveller Enrollment Program for the latest updates, with estimates suggesting there are around 200,000 Americans in Israel. Huckabee expressed hope that the situation would be resolved soon, highlighting the US's solidarity with Israel and the region against Iran. The UN Refugee Agency has reported that at least 30,000 people have been displaced in Lebanon due to escalating hostilities in the Middle East. Baba Baloch, a spokesperson for the agency, stated that many displaced individuals are being hosted in collective shelters, while others have been forced to sleep in their cars or remain stuck in traffic as they flee Beirut. The air raids by Israel, especially targeting Beirut's southern suburbs and southern Lebanon, have exacerbated the situation. The UN continues to monitor the rapidly deteriorating situation as more people seek refuge in safer areas. Let's listen in.
In Lebanon, heavy displacement is being reported across parts of southern Lebanon, the Bekaa and southern suburbs of Beirut. As of yesterday, the conservative estimates suggest that nearly 30,000 people were hosted and registered at collective shelters. Many more slept in their cars on the side of roads or were still stuck in traffic jams on the roads leaving the south to Beirut.
Now, joining us live, we have Maddie Zweig, geopolitical expert located in Tel Aviv. Now, Maddie, as these strikes hit southern Lebanon and parts of Beirut, do you think the Israeli government has taken into consideration perhaps political implications that this could have on Lebanon? Hezbollah initially was formed from Palestinian refugees and the discontent of feeling that they had. So could this possibly be a gift to Hezbollah in a way?
On the contrary, because we are deep in more than 14 months of the so-called ceasefire. The ceasefire was according to UN resolutions that everything that is connected with Hezbollah must be dismantled by the Lebanese army, the sovereign Lebanese army, from a sovereign country called Lebanon, in South Lebanon and also in the north in a second stage. And this wasn't complete. Hezbollah, they felt that they must keep their force, even that all this resolution has been taken. So the Lebanese did some movements. They confiscated a lot of weapons and warehouse and things like that, but they didn't really clean all weapons and structures from Hezbollah in South Lebanon. So Israel stayed inside Lebanon with the agreement of the Lebanese government in 5 points inside in order to observe what they are doing. And many times this ceasefire was also broken because they continue to strengthen their infrastructures. Now that they are again trying to help their patrons, because they are employees of the Iranian government. They are receiving money from the Iranians. Instead of taking care of Lebanese, they take care about Iran. So Israel is accordingly attacking and trying to destroy and trying to fulfill the agreement with the UN that they are not taking care of. So this is what's happening now because of the war. All this situation has been amplified. And again, the victims are the people from South Lebanon that they are fleeing north because of Hezbollah. And we hope the humanitarian situation will be better when they stop firing missiles to Israel and putting in danger our daughters and sons, and not only their own problems. Because no country is entitled to receive missiles from their neighbors just because, or because someone is angry. This is their problem, and we are going to continue and to respond to all this situation.
Of course. Maddie Zweig, thank you so much for joining us today on the show. Now, moving east, Indonesia has announced it will increase its crude oil imports from the United States, replacing some supply from the Middle East amid the escalating war in the region. With the Strait of Hormuz, a key oil route, currently in chaos due to the US-Israeli air campaign against Iran, oil prices have spiked and global air transport has been disrupted. Indonesia currently imports a quarter of its crude oil from the Middle East, but the country is now looking to the US to ensure more stable supply. The government is also monitoring the impact of higher oil prices on fuel subsidy spending, though no price hikes are expected additionally. The country's state energy firm Pertamina has secured enough supplies for the upcoming Eid holiday demand. And now to some breaking news. Loud explosions were heard in Iran's capital Tehran and in Karaj, west of the city, according to Iranian news agencies. Reports say the blasts come amid ongoing US and Israeli strikes on multiple Iranian cities as the war entered its 4th day. No further information has been provided as of now. And that's all that we have time for. Please keep watching NewsX World for more news updates from around the world.